All right, as promised, here's Craig Button to talk about Game 2, another victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. And Craig, going into this series, we had on FanDuel Matthew Tkachuk and Sergei Bobrovsky as the betting favorites to win the Conn Smythe, and they have essentially been, other than a big hit on Jack Eichel, non-factors. How much trouble is Florida in this series?
Well, they're in big trouble. I mean, obviously, we saw what Bobrovsky and Tkachuk have done in the previous series, but this is a team-wide problem that they're dealing with right now. They're getting run over. They're getting steamrolled by the Vegas Golden Knights, and I'm talking steamrolled. This Vegas Golden Knights team comes at you with 4 lines. They have 6 really good defensemen. We know how good Adin Hill is playing. So when you're playing against the Vegas Golden Knights, there's no chance to relax. There's no chance for a rest. Every shift somebody's going out, they're challenged. They got speed. The 4 lines can score. They're physical. The Florida Panthers aren't pushing around the Vegas Golden Knights like they pushed around Carolina and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So when you look at the Florida Panthers, yes, you look at their top players. Yes, we looked at Tkachuk and Bobrovsky, how well they've been playing coming into this series. The Florida Panthers are in big trouble. They didn't win a game in the 1996 Stanley Cup Final. They could duplicate that in this year's Stanley Cup Final.
And Craig, you alluded to how great Adin Hill has been playing, 9-3 in these playoffs now. He's outdueled Bobrovsky. Let me throw these words at you and let me get your reaction. Adin Hill, Conn Smythe winner. What do you think?
Well, he's got to be like a serious consideration. He entered the playoffs in the series versus Edmonton, and all he's done is performed at an outstanding level. And when you think about the Vegas Golden Knights, Jay, 5 goaltenders they've used this year. You know, they knew they were not going to have Laurent Brossoit. He was injured. Robin Leonard wasn't able to play at the beginning of the year, or through the year. Then you have injuries to Logan Thompson, to Adin Hill. They acquire Jonathan Quick. And in another moment after Laurent Brossoit had been playing so well, he has to come in, and he has done so well in this series. But it's not just this series. He outplayed Ottinger. He outplayed Stuart Skinner of the Edmonton Oilers. And now here he is outplaying Sergei Bobrovsky, who was 11-1 since he entered the playoff picture in this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Adin Hill has to be a player that is in the Conn Smythe Trophy discussion, and not just a name to put there. He has to be right there as one of the leading players.
You mentioned it earlier, Craig. This Vegas team comes at you with 4 lines. They're so deep, and maybe that's why the top line, it's hard for them to stand out, but they're standing out in this series. Marchessault, Eichel, and then how about Ivan Barbashev, Craig? Like, what a pickup by Kelly McCrimmon. Barbashev has just been a real eye-opener. This line could just do a little bit of everything, can't they?
Yeah, they can, and a little bit of everything is a lot of the important stuff, Jay. You know, Marchessault now with the goals he's scoring, 3 in the Stanley Cup Final, but really on a heater. Barbashev, who gives you so much play in so many different areas of the game. Jack Eichel in his first playoffs in his NHL career has been stellar, and not just on the scoring sheet, playing the game defensively, playing the game matched up against the other team's best players. And let's not forget, Barbashev was the player that put Gudas out of this game with that hit. So when you look at a trio that can impact the game in so many critically important areas, they become hard to handle. And it's not just them. I mean, obviously, they're getting a lot of the notoriety because they're scoring, and you need everybody to contribute in some way, shape, or form. There is nobody on Vegas right now, in my view, watching them play, that isn't playing about as close to the best of their abilities as they can. And again, going back to Florida, it's a huge problem for the Florida Panthers because they're not as deep and they're not as fast, and they're in big trouble.
All right, Craig, stick where you are, because I really want to get your thoughts on this Cole Caulfield contract extension that came out of nowhere on Monday in Montreal. That'll be later on this edition of SportsCenter.